ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. What is this? It's a pretty common disorder. Tons of people have this. It is probably one of the most common childhood diagnoses out there. But what is it? It is a neurological developmental disorder, much like autism. It is, you are pre-genetically disposed to it for the most part. Genetic factors play a role. Brain development in utero, where it just doesn't develop properly, plays a role, or could. Preterm birth can contribute. And neurotoxins and metals can contribute to a diagnosis of ADHD. So these are some of the factors that play into this diagnosis. Most children won't get diagnosed until they're 5 or older. Once they're in school and teachers start to notice their struggles with their behavior, impulsivity, they lack concentration and focus, they are agitated and fidgety, they have a hard time sitting still, they are argumentative, they can be loud, they can be emotionally very dysregulated, they have low cognitive function because the prefrontal cortex of the brain is smaller than it should be, and the emotional part of the brain is smaller than it should be. Right? Those are the physical abnormalities, and the architecture of these brain structures are different than what it would be in a neurotypical child. This is what causes the behavior. Memory loss, lack of concentration, learning disabilities. It's huge, and it's very common. So, I talked about the fact that it is a neurological developmental disorder that has genetic factors and these other things that play a role. But what about PTSD, CPTSD, from childhood trauma or narcissistic abuse? And why does it look like ADHD? Because the same areas of the brain that affect ADHD and that are shown to be smaller in people who have ADHD are the same as people who have complex trauma, and the abnormalities and the architecture of the brain and the areas of the brain that are changed through psychological trauma. It's the same. Prefrontal cortex is damaged, it's smaller. The hippocampus is damaged, it's smaller. The amygdala is enlarged because you're living in fight or flight, hypervigilance. You can't focus. Memory loss. Massive emotional dysregulation. Impulsivity. Can't make decisions. Feels like a pinball is going off in your prefrontal cortex. It's because it is. The same symptoms of ADHD are the same symptoms as complex post-traumatic stress